guys. I hope you're all doing well. I thought for today's video we would do something a little educational. My last video was all about my planner, and in my planner is a map of the United States that lists all the states and their capitals and the time zones. So I thought it would be fun to go through and look at it. So I'm going to be doing that today in no particular order. Let's start on the East Coast. Maine. And the capital of Maine is Augusta. Maine. Next is New Hampshire. The capital of New Hampshire is Concord. There's going to be some really bad angles in here. I used to know all of the state capitals because in elementary school we had a test over all the states and what their capitals were. And I would go to my grandparents on the weekend and my grandpa would quiz me. And I think the reason I missed a few was because I couldn't remember where the states were located. Specifically up here in New England, some of these smaller states, I couldn't remember which state was which, but I had all of the capitals and the states down. I do not have that capability anymore. Next is Vermont. And the capital is Montpelier. That's what Google told me is how to pronounce it, so I hope that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Montpelier, Vermont. How about Massachusetts? And the capital is Boston. Massachusetts. Boston, Massachusetts. Rhode Island, 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 Rhode Island. And the capital is Providence, Providence. Providence, Rhode Island, Providence, Providence, Rhode Island, Connecticut, 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 and the capital is Hartford, 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 Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, New York, 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 Albany, New York, Albany, 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 New York, New York, New Jersey, New Jersey, New Jersey, New Jersey, New Jersey, New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, Trenton, 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 New Jersey, Pennsylvania, 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 Harrisburg, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Delaware, 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 Dover, Delaware, Dover, 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 Delaware, Delaware, Maryland, 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 Annapolis, Maryland, Annapolis, 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 Maryland, 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 Charleston, West Virginia, West Virginia, West Virginia, West, West, West Virginia, West, West, West Virginia, 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 Charleston, West Virginia, Charleston, Charleston, Charleston. I recently drove through Charleston. It's a very large city, but it was totally dark when I drove through it. Unfortunately, I didn't see much of West Virginia because it was dark both times that I drove through it. Virginia, Georgia. Georgia, 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 on my mind. Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. Georgia on my mind is actually one of my favorite songs. Georgia. Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta, 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 Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, 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 Tallahassee, Florida, Tallahassee, 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 Florida. My best friend recently went to Pensacola, Florida. Tallahassee is the capital, but she went to Pensacola, Florida, Florida. Tallahassee, 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 Ohio, 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 Mark, Ohio, 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 Columbus, Columbus, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, 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 Columbus, Ohio, Kentucky, 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 Frankfurt, Kentucky, Frankfurt, 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 Kentucky, Frankfurt, Kentucky, Frankfurt, Kentucky. Apparently this map doesn't feel that it's necessary to mark Tennessee, but Tennessee is right here. Tennessee, 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 Nashville, 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 Tennessee, 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 Alabama, 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 Montgomery, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, Alabama, Montgomery, Michigan, 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 Lansing, Michigan, Lansing, 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 Michigan, Lansing, 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 Michigan, Indiana, 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 Indianapolis, Indiana, Indianapolis, 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 Indiana, Wisconsin, 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 Eau Claire, Eau Claire, Eau Claire, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Madison, Wisconsin. Illinois, 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 Illinois. Illinois, 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 Illinois. Springfield, Illinois. Springfield, 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 Illinois. Springfield. Springfield, Illinois. Springfield, Illinois. Mississippi. Mississippi, 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 Jackson, 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 Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. Minnesota, 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 St. Paul, Minnesota, Minnesota, St. Paul, St. Paul, St. Paul, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, Iowa, 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 Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines, Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines, Iowa is where I live. Des Moines, Des Moines, Des Moines. It is not pronounced Des Moines or Des Moines. It is Des Moines. The S's are silent. Drives me crazy. Don't pronounce it like that. Des Moines, Iowa. Des Moines, Iowa. Missouri, 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 Jefferson City, Jefferson City, Missouri, 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 Arkansas, 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 Little Rock, Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, 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 Little Rock, Dakota, South 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 Dakota, Pierre, South Dakota, Pierre, South Dakota, Pierre, South Dakota, Pierre, South Dakota, South Dakota, South Dakota, South Dakota, Pierre, 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 Nebraska, 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 Lincoln, 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 Nebraska, Lincoln, Lincoln, Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, Lincoln, 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 Nebraska, Kansas, 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 Kansas. We're not in Kansas anymore. Kansas, 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 Topeka, 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 Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, Topeka, 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 Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, Oklahoma, 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 Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Texas, 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 Austin, Texas, Austin, 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 Texas, Austin, Texas, Austin, Texas, Boise, 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 Idaho, Boise, Idaho, Boise, 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 Idaho, Boise, 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 Idaho, Boise, Idaho, Utah, 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 Salt Lake City, Utah, Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City, Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City, Arizona, 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 Phoenix, 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 Arizona, Phoenix, 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 Arizona, Phoenix, 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 Arizona, Nevada, 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 Carson City, Nevada, Carson City, Carson City, Carson City, Carson City, Nevada, Carson City, Nevada, Carson City, Nevada, Carson City, Nevada, Carson, Carson, Carson City, 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 Nevada, Washington, 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 Olympia, Washington, Olympia, 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 Washington, Olympia, Washington, 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 Olympia, Oregon, 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 Salem, Oregon, Salem, 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 Oregon, Salem, Oregon, Salem, Oregon, Oregon, California, 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 Sacramento, California, Sacramento, 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 California, California, Sacramento, Sacramento, California, Alaska, 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 Juneau, 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 Alaska, Juneau, Alaska, Juneau, Alaska, Juneau, Alaska, Juneau, Alaska, Juneau, 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 Alaska, Hawaii, 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 Honolulu, to show you what states I've been to just for funsies. So, as I stated, I am from Des Moines, Iowa. This is where I live. I have been to Minnesota. In fact, I've actually been to St. Paul, Minnesota once, but I've gone to the Mall of America a few times. I also stated I used to live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I've been to Wisconsin. I've been to Illinois. In fact, I have actually been to Springfield, Illinois. I visited Springfield, Illinois in 2016. And while there, my grandma and I went to Lincoln's tomb where he's buried, and also went to a museum about Lincoln that was very cool and interesting. I have been to Indiana. I drove through Indiana. I've been to Ohio. I drove through Ohio. I never stopped anywhere. I stated that just recently I went through Charleston, West Virginia. I saw nothing of West Virginia because it was dark when we drove through it. This was a couple weekends ago, and I drove through the very thin part of Virginia into North Carolina. So I've been to Virginia and North Carolina. I have also been to Florida. I went to Florida when I was in high school, my sophomore year, I believe. My classmates and I went on a school trip there that took us to Epcot and Busch Gardens and many different places, and I would love to go again. It was one of my favorite trips ever. I have been to Nebraska. I drove through Nebraska. I've been to Omaha, and I've gone to the zoo there a couple times. And I've been through Wyoming. I drove through Wyoming, and I think it was Idaho we went through next. I don't recall. I think we might have drove through Utah, just the very corner of it. I'm pretty sure. So I believe Wyoming and Utah, and then Idaho, and then went through Oregon. Oh, you can't see anything. Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. And I've been to Oregon, drove through Oregon. I went to Seaside in Oregon. It is beautiful there. And I've been to Washington. We went to Vancouver, Washington, and also visited Seattle, Washington, where I went up in the Space Needle. So, and I've been to, did I mention Missouri? I've been to Missouri. Been up in the St. Louis Arch in Missouri. So, I believe that's everywhere that I have been. One goal that I have on my bucket list is to visit every state and potentially all 50 capitals as well, but we'll see. That's a little ambitious. So, I think that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed